Before I start working with a company, I'll ask them, where are you getting your products? Are they domestically made? Are they imported? Where are the raw materials coming from? Are those domestic? Are those imported?
Hi, I'm Merav Ozeri, and welcome to How Much Can I Make? I am a curious journalist, fascinated by what people do for a living, what their jobs are really like, and how much they can earn. Join me as we dive into stories behind careers, uncovering insights and details, which I hope you'll find as intriguing as I do. Okay, so today we have a show about the retail business. And not only that, but it's a buyer for a retail business. So we are here with Matthew.
Hey, Merav.
Hey.
How are you?
Good. Thanks for doing it.
Thanks for having me.
And I want to know all about the job.
Okay.
First of all, how did you get into it?
So I work for a small business. It's a health food store where I live. And I started working there just as a cashier in college, just like ringing out customers like a normal cashier. And then about like a year or so into the job, there was an opening for a buyer position. And so I got promoted into that. It was specifically for vitamins and personal care items, those departments in the store.
How did you find the job?
I just looked on Indeed one day. I was just looking for like a little part-time job to pay my way through college. And there it was. I just found a listing. Went for it, had never been in there before, didn't really have much of an interest in health food stores prior to that.
Nor did you have experience in retail, right?
Nope. Before that, I did like property management and at like a ski mountain. So I kind of I fell into the role.
But how did you know what to buy?
I work with like the store owner to kind of define what items she likes in the store, what she wants to sell, what moves well with customers. So we have like we have an inventory system and we keep track of everything that comes into the store and moves out. Each week I have like a little tool. It's like a barcode scanner. And I just go up and down the shelves and I scan every single barcode that's there. And if we're low, I buy more. And if it's good, I let it be.
But do you also buy new products?
I do, yeah. That's actually a really big part of the job is frequently products get discontinued or they go out of stock for a long time. And so we don't want empty shelf space. It's not doing the store any good if you just have empty spots on the shelf. You're not moving product. So I have to spend a lot of time every week looking through vendor catalogs or like working with sales brokers to figure out like what's new, what's on the market this week, what is this company launching? A lot of companies launch new products every week, new vitamin lines, that kind of thing. And I have to decide, it's at my discretion what we bring in, what I think will do well with our customers. So I kind of have to know just from being in the store, talking to the people all the time, what they like, what moves well with them.
So did you also have to learn the demographics of your neighborhood?
Yeah, and that just came from being on the floor. Like I do some floor time every week and I talk to the people that come in and shop, and I work the sales floor, and it's a health food store, so it's a lot of people who are really health conscious, who are interested in their long-term health and trying to prevent disease and taking vitamins to make sure they get optimal nutrition. So yeah, just by talking to people, hearing about their concerns, particularly with their health, you kind of gauge like what are they interested in, what do they want to buy, and then based on that you make decisions about what to stock.
So when you find new product, for example, that you don't have in the store, you saw something interesting, do you have to go to the owner and say, look, I saw this, what do you think? Or do you have some sort of a creative freedom?
When I first started, it was more like, I was working directly with the owner, and before I would bring new things in, I would say to her, oh, hey, I'm looking at this product, what do you think? She's been in the business longer than me, she knows better. So there was a lot of back and forth when I first started the job. Nowadays, I have a lot more creative freedom. She knows that I have a pretty good handle on who's coming in and what they're interested in, so I can really decide what ends up coming into the store now. And if I spot something and I'm like, oh, that's cool, I know she'll like that, I'll just grab it, I'll pick it up.
How long have you worked in this store?
So I'm coming up on 3 years, so it's not super long. Just, I'm a young person. I just graduated college recently, and this was something I was doing alongside that and just ended up turning into something more. And yeah, almost 3 years in April.
So would you say you're like specializing in the health food industry?
Yeah, I love working in the health food area. And nutrition, it's a personal interest of mine too. And it does function a lot differently than a lot of other retail environments.
What do you mean?
Well, like a larger grocery store, especially like a corporate kind of chain grocery store, they have their own distribution networks. You know, a lot of them are big enough that they have their own warehouses, they have their own networks for buying and distributing. We're an independent store, and a lot of health food stores are independently owned. So a lot of them are small enough that they don't have their own warehouse, they don't have their own distribution network. So they're working with third-party distributors. There are a few really large ones in the natural products industry that serve a lot of independent stores. One of the big ones is United Natural Foods Incorporated out of, I believe they're based in Rhode Island, but they're a national distributor now. And they specialize in natural products in the natural products sector. So they have, you know, the majority of their catalog and their warehouses are products specifically targeted for the health food kind of demographic.
So let me ask you, for example, I have a friend who uses B12 vitamins.
Sure.
And a very specific one that has just 2 ingredients or something like that. She went everywhere to try to find it. She couldn't find it. Will you spend time looking for an item for a customer like this?
Yeah, totally. I mean, it's all about community engagement, for me at least. If someone comes to me with a product they're looking for, I'll look through my available distributors and see like, oh, you know, is it carried by these people? Is it carried by these people? I work a lot of times directly with the manufacturers.
Is it normal in the industry? Because I know a lot prefer to work through a distributor.
Yeah, well, because it's an independent store, we get better deals a lot of the times if we go straight to the manufacturers instead
of course.
Because we don't have as much buying power as a larger store to get the massive like volume discounts from larger distributors. So in that case, it is easier for us to go to XYZ company and say, oh, we'd like to work directly with you. And they like when we work directly with them too, because there's not a middleman charging more.
Right.
So,
what are your hours on this job?
It varies a lot.
Is it 5 days a week?
It's 5 days a week, and I work one weekend day.
Okay.
So I work usually Tuesday to Saturday, typically 10 to 6, because I do have like a lot of floor time at the store too.
What do you mean by floor time?
Just like watching what's going on, talking to customers, basically just working sales.
Okay.
Yeah, overseeing like the front end of the store. It's a small business, so I wear a lot of hats. You know, I do the buying, but then I'm watching cashiers and doing customer service and
are you watching
kind of
for
stuff too.
shoplifters?
A little bit, yeah. It's a small footprint. It's not a huge store. We have 4 aisles, you know, so you kind of just like do some laps around the place and talk to people, ask if they need help and try to point them in the right direction. And you see a lot of the same faces every week. It was a great place to start working as a young adult who had just moved to a new area. You really get to know the community members, people who have been like shopping at that place for 20 years.
Right.
And you build a network, a community.
How long this store was in existence?
Over 25 years now, family owned.
So they sell mostly food?
We have like a pretty big vitamin section there because it's a health food place, but we have like fresh produce, we have regular kind of grocery staples, dry goods, that kind of stuff, meats, cheeses. Yeah.
And are you the only buyer or they have other buyers?
There's a few of us. So, and we all kind of handle different parts of the store. So there's someone who handles all the dry goods, bulk goods. There's another person that does all the produce, another person who does all the cheese. Because we work with so many different vendors.
I can imagine, yes,
yeah,
of course.
Yeah, because it's independent we do work with so many vendors. You have to have multiple people and split it up so that the workload isn't too much.
So what's your area of expertise?
Mine is the vitamins, yeah.
The vitamins?
Yeah, so that's my area. I spend a lot of time just like working the vitamin aisle and talking to people looking for products. I buy the products, manage the inventory. Yeah. So, and over time, I have an interest in vitamins and nutrition. So.
Well, that was my question. You know, there are a lot of articles about some vitamins are not so good because the way they manufacture, the way they mix. Mm-hmm. Did you have to study all of that?
A little bit, yeah. You have to research the companies like before you start working with them. You want to know that they have good manufacturing practices. A lot of times before I start working with a company, I'll ask them, you know, where are you getting your products? Are they domestically made? Are they imported? Where are the raw materials coming from? Are those domestic? Are those imported? Because we try to be very discerning about having good quality products in the store. We want to have people buying good stuff.
So how from school, doing it in school, you become a buyer? I thought a buyer has to go through a lot of training by the store owners, by the manufacturers.
When I got promoted, I spent a couple of months training and figuring out how all these systems worked.
So what would you say, whoever wants to become a buyer for a store, what do they need to be? What kind of person is perfect for their job?
Yeah, you have to be organized. You have to be a little meticulous. You have to keep track of a lot of moving pieces. Every week I'm sending out like 20, 25 purchase orders. You have to be on track of receiving and knowing when orders are arriving and that they arrived in good condition. You have to work well with other people because it's too much for one person to do. I do the buying, but I have other people who will receive my packages, receive my orders, check them in. You have to talk to them and make sure to know like if you receive damaged products or missing items, because then I have to go to the vendor and say, look, I need my money back.
Does it happen?
Every day, all the time.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, that's shipping for you. You know, boxes get jumbled around, stuff gets broken. A lot of vitamins, they come in glass bottles.
Right.
So, you drop the box too hard, someone along the way drops it. And then I'm not going to foot that bill. We're not footing that bill, you know. You also have to have a good eye for strategy and knowing like, okay, this is a popular product and I know that it's going to take 5 to 7 days to arrive. So I want to have enough on hand to cover my shelf in the interim so that I don't run out and have empty space. And you have to keep a good eye on having enough in store without overbuying and then ending up with too much of a product that isn't going to sell. And then that's a liability.
What's your best seller?
Well, that's seasonally dependent. So right now it's January. Everyone's getting sick with the cold and flu. So right now what's selling is vitamin C, classic. A lot of vitamin C. A lot of herbal products for immunity. Echinacea and golden seal is a huge one. It's elderberry syrup, elderberry tinctures, pills, lozenges. People got sore throats.
Oh,
it's January. Yeah. We all have postnasal drip and it hurts.
Okay, I must ask, how much money can you make in a job like that?
I don't know about other buyers, and it varies a lot by industry, because buyer is like a really broad title. You know, there's fashion buyers, there's retail buyers. For me, I would say that like you're probably going to start around like $20 to $25 an hour.
Okay, by the hour.
Mm-hmm, okay. By the hour.
Do you get benefit too?
I do, yeah. So I'm eligible for things like health insurance, 401k. Mm-hmm.
Oh, 401k too? Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Oh, that's very nice.
Yeah, very generous. And and it's a small business too, so that's kind of unusual for people. If you work for like a larger corporation, it's probably more standard and you would probably be salaried.
And do you know what is the potential earning? Let's say you move to a bigger store or a chain.
I imagine like if you move up from a buyer to like a general manager kind of position and you're really overseeing all the operations, you're probably making 6 figures.
Is that the natural path from a buyer to a manager?
I would say so. Yeah, unless you really enjoy buying and you aren't on the operations side that much. But I think most people, there's 2 directions. Either you go from a buyer to sales repping and you find a marketing firm that has a position for an outside sales rep, or you could go, to a vendor, a large company that has inside sales. That's fewer and fewer these days. So you either go down the path of sales repping or you then go on to like general manager or like store owning. But the skills are transferable, knowing how to create purchase orders, knowing how to work with, sales brokers and set up deals and negotiate prices, and how to work with your accounting department and how to manage receiving. Those are all things that you can transfer easily.
So is that the kind of job you could do as a part-time while you're a student?
Totally. That's exactly what I did. While I was finishing my degree, I was working 3 or 4 days a week while I was still in college. And yeah, I would just come in a couple days a week, make sure I got all my purchase orders done. And next week I'd come in, make sure last week's arrived and do the same thing.
So at the beginning, they told you what to order, and then as you learned, you started to order on your own?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so you know exactly what to order because every item has a barcode on the shelf. So right. you literally go shelf, section by section, shelf by shelf, and you scan. I have a little, it's like a handheld scanner. And
I've seen those,
I hold it out, I scan it, and then I move to the next and scan, next.
When are you due for a raise? You started at 25 an hour? Or?
So initially, like very first position there, I was working for $15 an hour.
Oh.
And then I got bumped up a few times. So now I make $26 an hour.
That's nice. And when were they going to give you another raise? You have to ask for it, or is it automatic?
Yeah, sometimes I'll get a few more vendors put in my lap, and then I'll get a little raise for that.
Do you get a Christmas bonus?
I do get a nice little bonus, which is great.
That's very nice. And the 401k is nice. That's unique to a small store.
Yeah, it is. It is. And you don't see that very often, but I'm very lucky that the people I work for are very,
Decent
very
people.
generous and very, very good people.
Do you buy the stuff that you sell? I mean, do you get a special discount? And
I do. Yeah. I mean, I do a lot of shopping there, more than I should.
do they give it to you at wholesale?
I get a discount on like a flat discount on a lot of the goods in the store, like 20% off, which is great.
That's good.
Really generous. And then stuff like vitamins and bath and body stuff, I do get at wholesale.
Did it happen to you that there was a recall on some item and then you panically start collecting all of this?
Every once in a while, we'll get a recall. We get notified. It's not often. It's really not as often as people think. And in that case, we just go through, we check lot numbers. Pretty much every product that you buy in a package, and even some that aren't packaged, even produce, by the case has a lot on it. You just check lot numbers, and if something is recalled, you pull it, you talk to the vendor and say, look, I got some of this, and usually you can recoup the loss.
Do the vendors ever stop by the store to take a look or meet you personally?
Sometimes. It's really sales reps that do that. So they like to stop in and they take pictures of how you have their products arranged. It's not so much inside sales anymore. There are outside sales agencies. One agency will represent a number of companies, smaller companies in the business. It's a big part of my job is kind of sifting through all the sales and promos that these vendors offer because they want us to buy more product. So they'll sweeten the deal for us. They'll say, oh, if you buy this many units, we'll give you 20% off your order. And so I spend a lot of my time researching as well what the ongoing deals are from distributors and vendors and figuring out, how can I maximize our profit by minimizing cost. And then depending on the deal too, sometimes the vendor will say, well, we'll give you money off, but we stipulate that you pass that discount on to your customers. And so that's when
that's actually nice because every time I think, oh my God, they probably make a deal with a vendor and usually they charge double, right?
It depends on the store. A lot of stores, it's like a 50% margin on retail.
How long do you give a product that doesn't sell to stay on the shelf before you just dump it?
Usually until it expires. For vitamins in particular, they have a pretty long shelf life. If something isn't moving and I see, 4 or 5 months out, this is going to expire, and that's when that's a huge loss. You throw a sale on it. You cut your margins a little bit. You try to cut your loss. Sometimes we even just sell at cost because you just want to get it out. Every once in a while, you'll have like a real stupid mistake item that you brought in that no one's interested in. And you're like, shit, I got to figure out something to do with this.
So I know in retail, you run into a lot of different people coming in and out of the store, hanging outside the store. What's the craziest story that you remember that happened to you?
There's a lot.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I mean, it's a funny crowd. It's a funny crowd in a health food store. And if anyone listening has ever been in a health food store, it's a funny crowd. One time, so we have there's a character who comes into our store. She's an older woman and she has always got some kind of comment to make about the quality of our produce. Okay, fine, I get it.
So why is she coming back?
Well, that's the real question here. And she's always given us a hard time. One time she waltzes right into our back room. She goes, where are these apples from? I want to see the box. I want to see it right now. And at that point, you just kind of, it's like damage control. You just have to kind of like play along and take the path of least resistance. So I'm like, okay, all right, I'm going to go get the box. I pull it out. We're looking at it. Printed on the box, it says product of WA, abbreviation, WA, Washington. She looks at it and she goes, what does that mean? Product of WA. It comes from Mexico? They must come from Mexico. I don't want Mexican apples. I go, WA is Washington, the state of Washington. It's on the West Coast. She goes, no, that's Mexico.
Oh my God.
It's like, okay, yeah, you're right. The apples come from Mexico. So yeah, no worries. I get it if you don't want them. So sometimes you just get some real characters.
I'm always curious in retail stores. Do they shuffle the shelves around so it's like a new look every time I walk into the store?
Well, you don't want to do it too much because you want people to know how to find what they like.
Right.
So we try not to move stuff around too much, but I kind of do like to move stuff around. One of the most fun parts of my job, because I'm just like a visual kind of person, I like to make the shelves look pretty and to move things around around and
Well,
make
that's
sure.
important.
Yeah, because it's you have to design how your shelves look too, and where your products fit best, and categorize the shelves and make sure that things kind of flow and make sense as you're walking down the aisles.
What is the biggest challenge of this job?
Biggest challenge? Well, I think it's the shipping and fulfillment part. You never know when you put out these orders and you think they're going to arrive in a standard amount of time.
Out of your control.
And it's out of your control. You send a purchase order in and then it's just a waiting game. And sometimes your shipments get delayed. Sometimes they don't arrive at all and it's a huge headache. And then you've got empty shelf space and you got to try to fill it fast. So that's a huge challenge, is the shipping and fulfillment part. So I started working at this store just at the very tip end of the pandemic. That being said, the supply chain stuff is still to this day a huge issue.
Oh, really? Whoa, what do you mean?
Well, because of the demand on the logistics system, like UPS, FedEx, USPS, there's so much volume now, especially since the pandemic. We're all ordering things online. It takes longer for my deliveries to arrive now. If you talk to a vendor, they have more out of stocks now than they have ever had before, where I'll go to order a product and they'll say to me, oh, we don't have this. We're experiencing a problem in our manufacturing right now where we can't get enough materials to make this product to supply to you. Sometimes you wait around and wait for it to get fulfilled again. Sometimes it's like, okay, it's been a couple of months now. I can't afford to keep waiting for you to send me product. I got to find something else.
And find another vendor.
Yeah, find another vendor. And I've had to do that a couple times this past year, where like major vendors that supply 25 to 30% of the SKUs on my floor have had these massive widespread out of stock problems. At that point, you're like, okay, what are we going to sell? You can't wait around for that much product to magically be fulfilled at some indeterminate date in the future. And so you have to then take your business elsewhere.
Right. Do you think AI is threatening your job in any way?
I think on a larger scale with larger companies, probably. They're using technology and analytics to measure their buying and to maximize their profits and to make sure that everything is in stock, and a lot of it's more automatic. We're not quite so complicated. It's a little more old school. We don't necessarily have
And you don't have robots that will go on the shelves.
We don't have robots, no.
But it's coming, no?
But it is coming, and there are tools and softwares that are marketed for retail environments to do exactly that, and I'm sure that AI is going to make them even more powerful.
My last question, what is the reward of the job?
The reward for me, I would say, is the community part. I talk to so many people every day, and I feel after a few years, you see the same faces quite a bit, and you talk to them, and you get to know about them and their families and what they're up to, where they work.
That's nice.
And I feel very much like a part of that community. Some days are, you're tired, and some days you don't want to talk to people, or some days I'm like, oh my God, if I have to send one more email. But I really do love it. Yeah, it's a great job. Mm-hmm.
Fantastic. Well, thank you very much. We learned something about retail I didn't know.
Yeah, thank you, Mara.
Wow, thank you. Okay, that's a wrap for today. If you have a comment or question or would like us to cover a certain job, please let us know. Visit our website at howmuchcanimake.info. We would love to hear from you. And on your way out, don't forget to subscribe and share this episode with anyone who is curious about their next job. See you next time.